and welcome back to my channel. So today I have another Sims 4 speed build for you, and this one's a little bit different. So I decided that I wanted to actually renovate one of the EA kind of base game lots in Oasis Springs. This is actually the Agave Abode lot, and honestly this house kind of just bugs me. It just, something about it never looked quite right. So I thought it was about time that we did a little bit of a renovation, and this is actually filmed over on my Twitch channel. The link is down below if you want to come hang out with us. I stream Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, and the schedule is also available on my Twitch channel, as well as if you follow me over there you can get notified when I go live. But anyways, we've actually started doing kind of a renovation series over on my Twitch channel. So we kind of really liked doing these renos and just giving those base game builds a little bit of a facelift. Now I will say this is a reno of a base game, but it is not just using base game. So I did use all of my packs here. Who knows, maybe some of my other renos I will limit my packs, but for right now I'm using all of my packs because I want to give these base game homes the best chance I can. And I am trying really hard to actually leave them in this same way that I found them in terms of walls, and that was a really weird way of saying that, but I wanted to keep the walls intact, and so it kind of keeps that same look that it had originally, but while completely gutting the inside and kind of starting over, as well as changing the facade a little bit. And if you notice maybe at the beginning here, I did alter the exterior of the build just a little bit. It just always bothered me that that left part of the build didn't line up, so I just scooted that out one square. So I did a little bit of cheating. I did change a wall, but I think honestly it made this build so much better. And the idea I had going into this build was that it's maybe for two roommates. I actually ended up, for the screenshots, I used a pair of twins, which they are so adorable. So you saw them at the very beginning of the video, and they are just so cute. And I imagined that maybe they're both designers of some kind, maybe interior designer, maybe clothes designer, something like that. But I figured maybe that they live together, and it's just so adorable. But the reason I say I figured maybe this is for roommates is because you may have seen a little bit earlier the way I was drawing out the floor plan looked a little weird. So I have those 3 small rooms on the left side of the build, and basically what that ends up being is kind of like a Jack and Jill bathroom, except kind of, I feel maybe a fancier version. I've seen 2 versions of a Jack and Jill bathroom, but basically the idea being that you have 2 bedrooms. Each bedroom will lead into, for me, the fancy version will lead into a toilet and sink area, and then both of those bathrooms lead into a shared shower space. Now, I believe a normal Jack and Jill, at least from what my chat told me, was that they just both lead into the same bathroom, but I decided to make it a little bit fancier, so they kind of have their own space while still sharing a shower area, if that makes sense. And if that doesn't make sense, you'll see it in a little bit. I think it'll make a lot more sense that way. But I don't have a normal dining space here. I figured we would just use the bar in the kitchen for the dining area. And I will also say that this is the first build that I ever used the tool mod in. So if you see some things that don't look quite normal, or doesn't look like things you could normally do in the game, it's because I did install the tool mod, which basically, if you're unaware, is a build mod that allows you to change items both in size and height and orientation. You can move them about both axes, and it allows you to do things like put makeshift pillows on couches, and sizing for instance the coffee table exactly how you want it to, versus just using the bracket keys in the increments that the game allows. It just allows you to be much more specific with that. But anyways, I'm learning how to use that. My chat had to help me a lot when I was first starting to use it, because I was I don't know what I'm doing, but they finally convinced me to get the tool mod. So I did use it for this build in a few places, and so you might be seeing that coming up in other builds as well if you see things that are kind of randomly placed. But what I will say is you can download this off the gallery. Like, they will stay where I put them. You don't need the mod in order to download this. It just, like, that's what allowed me to place it there, if that makes sense. But the game remembers where they were. And on that note, this is available on the Sims 4 gallery if you would like to download it under my ID spicensprinkles. Of course, as always, just be sure to use move objects when you place it, because otherwise you'll probably lose a bunch of the items on the lot, since I use that cheat when I'm building. And I highly recommend it if you want to get into building. I think it allows you to make your spaces just much more like cluttered for me, which is really important, and just look a little more lived in. And I will say, so this entry table, I love the way this entry space turned out. It is just so pretty, like the rich colors and everything, especially with this painting. But when I went in to take my screenshots, all the stuff on that entry table, it was gone, and I have no clue why it was gone, but it was. So just as a warning, if you download this, I don't know, the gallery may eat those items. I have no clue, but just as a warning, that may happen. I don't know why it happened, but it did. And I wanted to add in kind of a bunch of clutter here without necessarily cluttering up the counters. And you can see it using those shelves. And as well as, I believe this was a medium wall height home. And so if you've ever built like kitchens in The Sims on like a medium or tall wall height, the cabinets just a lot of times look a little bit funny. So, so I added a bunch of stuff on the wall to make it look a little bit more normal. And you can see here, I'm doing a little bit of a building hack. So that square shelf there is actually from the Dream Home Decorator pack, and it functions a lot like the red shelf that you may have seen me use or other builders use. And in case you didn't know about this hack, basically that allows you to place things exactly where you want them. So effectively, since it works like a shelf and you can just kind of put it exactly where you want on the wall, you can line it up at whatever height you want, which will help out a lot. And so you don't have floating items, things like that. So I've been starting to use that hack a lot versus maybe using the red shelf, although you might see me use that as well. And as a reminder, technically that red shelf is CC, but it is not left in the build, so there's no CC in the build when you download it. I just like to mention that in case that's not something that you've seen before. And so this room is actually where I decided that maybe this sim is an interior designer. And when I was originally building this, I wasn't necessarily thinking about having twins live here, but rather just roommates. And I don't know, I decided that, honestly, I decided the beds I wanted to use for the two rooms, and then I kind of went from there. I know that sounds kind of weird, but I honestly just really wanted to use that bed swatch. I just think it's so pretty, and I don't even know if I've ever used it before, but I have built a lot of things, so who knows, maybe I have. But I went with these like blue and like gray tones in this room, and we tried, oh my gosh, so many different curtains in here. I am not kidding. Like, Chat and I, we were chatting for so long trying to figure out which curtains worked best in here. Like, we took a vote on which ones to use, but I am happy with the way it turned out, but I think it was just bugging me a lot. Like which curtains to use in here. And you can see each of them actually do have a small office space, so there are two computers in this build as well, so you could actually use this as a roommate home. So in the game you can actually have your sim live here and then just have a roommate, so you do have the option of doing that if you would like to, or just controlling both sims. But anyways, I wanted to make this a really nice like designer area. You can see I've just got a lot of piles of things everywhere. I'm thinking like this sim is like working on a project, and I use that Dream Home Decorator the billboard. That's not a billboard, that's a bulletin board. Or like project board on the wall over there. And then I just kind of made a cute little cozy like reading space over in the corner. And you saw there I kind of went back and forth between which way I wanted to place those items, but I ended up settling on this one here. And I struggled a little bit with how to organize this corner, to be honest. You can see I tried a bunch of different lamps, just a bunch of different organizations. It just kind of looked weird, but I'm happy with the way it turned out. It just took us a minute to get there, and I feel like that just happens sometimes. And also, before I forget, if you are enjoying this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. And also don't forget to turn on notifications so you are notified every single time I upload. And I also upload a bunch of build shorts as well if you're interested in seeing those. Again, those are basically just speed builds, just like really short. And most of them are going to be room builds. So I have actually added a bunch of rooms to the gallery, so be sure to check those out either on the gallery or in my shorts feed. But anyways, so I'm cluttering filling these corners here just with a bunch of things, but I did try to keep it maybe to a minimum in this room because I just felt like that was what that sim would want, if that makes sense. Like I try to like imagine what the sim who lives here would want in this room, and I ended up sizing down those two like shoe racks and kind of inserting them inside this cabinet, and I thought that just looked kind of cool as a place to organize your shoes. I've actually not done that before, but I think that worked out pretty well here. And then this is that bathroom that I was talking about. So this is the first sim space. They'll have their own sink and toilet, and then they'll share that shower space in between, and then the other sim will have their own space, which actually would be pretty luxurious if you were living with a roommate. If you don't have the option of just having two completely separate bathrooms, this would probably be like the next best thing. And so I kind of just added in here because I wanted to include a window that I just used the Snowy Escape shower and then just kind of making it look like a big shower in here. And then I tried to match up like the counters and stuff. It's just I added their own aesthetic with like the mirrors and the clutter that are in both of them. So hopefully you can see the Sims personalities reflected in their like separate bathroom spaces. And so I used a lot of like whites, grays, and blues in here. And I feel like I didn't make it too cluttered. I think I included more clutter in the other Sims bedroom, and honestly I really love the way the other Sims bedroom turned out. I just thought it looked so cute. But I will say, I know we're not there yet, but I'm already talking about it. The other bedroom, just like, it took a while. We did so much experimenting in here. I was so excited though. I chose a bed that I've not really used before, but that I wanted to use. And when I realized that I could use that gorgeous floral wallpaper in here, I was so excited. I am so serious. Like I was ecstatic on stream. Like I was like, y'all, we can use this floral wallpaper, but especially in this beautiful color combination. I don't think I've ever been able to use it before because it's just so specific, if that makes sense. And so this space is a little more eclectic, a little more colorful, and they actually have another fireplace in here. And it was funny, chat was like, so are we just ignoring the fact that this house is in the desert and we're just putting fireplaces in it? But we're just gonna pretend maybe they're electric fireplaces and they don't actually produce heat. But of course you can put this anywhere you want to and pretend to play however you want to and change this build however you want to if you were to download it off the gallery. And also leave a comment down below if you have a suggestion on which lot we should actually reno next. So right now I'm concentrating, I feel like, on Oasis Springs and Willow Creek, but if this goes well, then maybe I will also go into the other worlds and try to switch up some of the EA ones. And I know that I've like done a bunch of speed builds with a lot of the lots in all these worlds, but specifically lots that are like already possibly inhabited or decorated like a lot. And so especially the starter homes here. Now this is no longer a starter home. It came out to be around 93,000 simoleons, which maybe between two people isn't too bad, especially if you think about them maybe as being really successful like interior designers. And this is the space that I really struggled with, was trying to fit in a desk here because I really wanted that sitting space and I really liked the cabinets we put on that far wall. But we figured it out and we ended up bringing a lot of the like paranormal pack in here and decor to the max, and it turned out so beautiful in here. I really loved it. We actually ended up using the giant peacock statue, which actually ended up looking really pretty in here. We do end up changing the color just a little bit because that wasn't working out, but I feel like I never use it, but it did actually work out in here surprisingly, like and just bringing in all like the meld of colors here was just, I really love the way it turned out. And like I said, you know, changes however you want to, that kind of thing. And just adding a little bit of clutter here on that cabinet. And then again, just adding some clutter to these end tables of like what I think, you know, this sim might have. Now, of course, since there are two like double beds in here, you could have 4 sims living in here. So you could have like 2 couples if you wanted to. You could have a single and a double, like, you know, you could have like a bunch of sims actually in this home, even though, you know, it doesn't seem maybe as big. But I actually really like the way this turned out. I always felt like this lot had a lot of potential, but it was just so oddly laid out to begin with, and using those really large windows all over the place I think helped a lot to bring in not only the gorgeous view that this lot provides, but also just letting in a bunch of light. Since this is like the desert, like there's a lot of light coming in, and I think it just looks so pretty here. And honestly, I don't know if you've been like watching my Big Sister challenge, which I post here on the main channel and I stream over on Twitch, but like for some reason we are living in Henford on Bagley, and it has been raining nonstop, and all I want to do is move to the desert. In that Let's Play, I'm like, we need to move. Like this is insane. There is so much rain happening. So this was actually a nice change of pace to be actually in a nice dry world. And out here I kind of kept it pretty simple, and this was interesting because this lot is mostly just the house. So I ended up just putting in like a little small driveway. I did end up putting some like planter boxes here as well, so your Sims can do some skill building. And then we ended up just putting a little bit of vegetation in select spots around the lot. But I love this tree we found, and I believe I got that out of Debug. I can't remember what pack it is from, but we ended up also putting like that beautiful sitting area underneath. And I did include I was about to say a stove, not a stove, but a grill outside as well. So you do have that option. And I put some chairs out on that like front porch area too, so your Sims can kind of hang out there as well. And we end up adding in some flower boxes on this home, which I think helped a whole lot in this, because I just felt like the front of the house was missing something. And actually, so my mom actually shows up on stream a lot, so if you ever want to say hello to her, she's usually in chat. That was actually her suggestion, was to add in those flower boxes, and I think it made such a difference. And then adding in a good bit of terrain paint too, I think added a lot of personality and depth to this landscaping here. And I think the lot also looks very nice at night. There's a lot of lighting in places, and you can see I tried to size that down, but it did not look very like good, like really small. But I ended up using just a little bit of seating space here and some planters, I believe. And I actually did a collection over in this corner, which I think worked out really well. And then just putting like some of that gardening equipment on the wall. I figured that's maybe where they store it, because there's not a lot to garden on this lot. But since I did put planter boxes, I figured maybe they would need a little bit, you know, for tools just to have something. But since, you know, we're in the desert, I don't think you need it. But again, if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. And be sure to turn on notifications so you know when I upload, and leave any suggestions down in the comments. And I hope you have a really sweet day. Bye, everybody.
Yesterday there was sun and there was rain.